What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Dragon Quest XI. Now this video is going to be quite a bit different from my normal reviews, mostly because I'm going to do this in a little bit more of a rant style format. Simply because I haven't actually beaten the game yet, so I don't have too much of the later game footage. I've played 35 hours of it so far, and I'm really blown away by what this game is. So since so many of you are asking me about it, I wanted to dig into what the heck Dragon Quest XI can be and what it is so far. So this game is very unique in the fact that it is a true old school RPG. I feel like a lot of games are what I would call pretend retro. While I do love things like Octopath Traveler or Persona 5, they're games that have turn-based combat and a lot of parts of older style of games, but they're very, very modern. They're things that could not exist on any other hardware, and not just because of the graphics. They're built to have really complex leveling systems and big maps. They need that to be the game. Whereas Dragon Quest XI, this is really an extremely old school game that just happens to be on modern hardware. Now what I mean by that is that it's something that has a very straightforward story first and foremost. You're basically just a sacred baby who managed to be the reincarnation of this ancient warrior called the Luminary. And basically, when you were born, they realized that you were this giant sacred warrior and they tried to defeat you. The evil people were like, "We gotta kill that baby." So of course, your mother very kindly puts you in a river in a basket, you float downstream and end up getting adopted by a bunch of people at a tiny little village, and you grow up there to be this big strong warrior. And then when you come of age, you realize that it's time to set out and fulfill your destiny, to be the luminary, to overthrow evil, to become the king and lordship that you desire. Now what's cool about this game is that the cast of characters is just so wacky. They do a lot of really interesting accents, different styles, and as you travel throughout the countryside, it definitely seems like there's different cultures. There are some games where everybody just seems like they're all from the same state. People talk the same, they use the same references, whereas here, there's actually like sort of different dialects depending on the zone. It definitely adds this extra spark that makes it where all the characters seem like living, breathing people, and I liked it because it made it where when I came to a new town, I didn't really feel like I had to actually talk to people, but I wanted to. I wanted to do side quests. I wanted to see what the prizes were, and I wanted to see what people would actually say next about their magic and their lives. Now let's talk about the fighting, because this is what's really probably the thing that is the most interesting, and I also think that it's probably going to be the thing that turns the most people off in this game. So combat is really, really straightforward in a good way. It is definitely a very old school, ultra hardcore RPG. What I mean by that is this is turn-based combat, but it's very much emphasizing grinding, leveling up through brute force and nothing else. Each one of the characters has a skill tree that lets you customize different aspects about them. Like as an example, the main character can do stuff like upgrade his magic skills to toss out giant fire that can hit multiple opponents, or specialize in one-handed swords if you want to do sword and shield, or if you're like me, I dumped all my early talent points into going pure out two-handed saber to have a giant blade that I could smash people in the face with. But having that alone isn't enough. In order to be strong enough to take on these bosses, you need to grind a lot, but you also need to gather up materials. Raw mats are actually what you need to try and actually craft new weapon and new gear that's better than any shop. So your character essentially has this little forge with him at all times that you can drop and put stuff into, and then it has this little crafting minigame that lets you sort of basically re-smelt gear. And I think that this is really cool because it makes it where I feel like I didn't have to go back to town if I didn't want to, which is very rare. Most RPGs really kind of set up this cycle of visit a dungeon, go to town, visit a dungeon, go to town. Whereas in Dragon Quest XI, I truly felt like if I needed to, I could stay in nature forever. By grinding, leveling up, and getting more materials, I could perpetually upgrade myself, my characters, and also just get so much cash that when I arrived at the next town, I'd already be primed to buy a bunch of stuff. Now, let me warn you, when I say that this game requires grinding, I'm not exaggerating. You have to grind 30 minutes to an hour in almost every single place I visited. Now, if you were somebody who played a lot of RPGs in the SNES and PS1 age, I'm sure you probably remember that there used to be this old saying that said, "Purposely pick the wrong path." Now, what this meant was that these games, in order to actually progress, you would need a ton of experience points. And the best way to get that was to purposely get lost in every dungeon, to search the paths that you knew were not correct, to hope you find extra items, new treasure, or maybe just some extra foes that you can beat down and therefore level up quicker. I definitely found myself doubling back a lot. I mean, so many times I'd reach a new city and realize that it was supposed to be way beyond my current level, so I'd actually just backtrack into like a swamp or someplace and grind for another while longer until I had enough cash and experience points to carry on to that next main mission. Now, I'm definitely glad that they added in all those side quests because I found myself doing them a lot in every city just to make sure that if anything, I was over leveled instead of meeting that next big boss and getting horribly one-shotted. Now, I want to say that something else about this game that's surprisingly beautiful is the fact that there is a lot of really cool naturey stuff. Lots of sweeping vistas, giant waterfalls, and cool little grottos that you're going to be going through. And I like it because it really kind of establishes the fact that the Dragon Quest world is not something that you need to know about before you start this. Dragon Quest XI is made to teach you about this universe. I've played a couple of the Dragon Quest games, and my favorite one is definitely Dragon Quest VIII, but never in this did I feel like that they were stopping and trying to explain stuff from previous entries. And I feel like nowadays that's one of the best aspects of a good sequel is when it manages to completely stand on its own. At this point, the franchise of Dragon Quest has had so many spin-offs like Dragon Quest Heroes and Dragon Quest Builder, and now this one. And I think that it was really key to them to try and make it where this game stands completely by itself and is epic. In my 35 hours, I've seen, I think, almost all the characters at this point. I've seen crazy stuff like time travel, I've seen crazy visions, and I've seen so many different types of biome, from deserts to crazy snowy peaks. And I still feel like there's so much more to see because it truly establishes the idea that the Dragon Quest world is, in fact, an actual world. If I really had to dig into the stuff I didn't like about this, it really kind of comes down to the fact that the plot overall still feels very stale. I didn't really feel like the journey that we were trying to go on actually had any importance. The fact that we were just kind of goofing around in these dungeons for so many hours, or just literally climbing random peaks and going like, oh, check out that view, it kind of removed that fire under me that tried to motivate me to climb that next hill or go up that next rope or see what the next boss had in mind. I still feel like this game is good, but it definitely just relies so much on classic themes that sometimes it almost seemed like this was a really weird remake of like an 8-bit game from the NES instead of something that's made to be really fresh and new. Something else is also the fact that it's undeniable that I feel like this game is very much meant to be played with a strategy guide. Sometimes when I was trying to look at my talent tree, whole sections of it are completely invisible until you buy other stats, which means that sometimes you can spend literally days grinding, leveling up, and trying to buy talent points and realize that you bought something incorrectly and wasted so much time. It feels like they're trying to do that in order to trick you into getting a strategy guide or looking at some sort of online charts to get a better idea on how to build your character. Now, I'm somebody who does like really in-depth leveling systems and upgrade styles, but it still seems like this is a little bit too far. It goes beyond the depths of building the perfect materia system in Final Fantasy VII, or trying to make the absolute best summoned creatures in Persona, and instead going into this territory that feels like it's trying to be overly intricate just to try and appear to be cooler. Now, these are not big drawbacks. Overall, I still had a total blast in this, and I'm certainly going to be finishing it before the year is through. But now that we've heard a little bit of good and a little bit of bad, let's go over the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Dragon Quest XI an 8 out of 10. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this little bit more peculiar review. Definitely not going to be doing these rant style ones very often, but I'm actually working on like 4 more giant secret projects right now, and this is something that I just wanted to kind of really rave about for a moment, because it's kind of so really, I don't know, it's fun to have a game that's so fun, that's so different, that feels so old school in the ways that many of us were really craving. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Alright, I guess I'm gonna go grind. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad, and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.